As we all know that the world population is drastically increasing day by day. So the world population is increasing unevenly within all the continents and countries. It is distributed in such a manner that some countries are overpopulated and some are underpopulated. Currently, the world population is around 8.1 billion, and one third of the total world population lives in Asia alone, which accounts for 59.73% of the world population, according to the world's land area. The next is Africa, which accounts for 17.92%, and then Europe, which is 9.37%. And the rest is the rest of the world, which includes other continents. If you see the life of the primates or the prehistorical ancient human beings, it was very scanty and uneven, as human beings were the weakest amongst all the animals and they could not easily survive until they reached the Neolithic age. Neolithic age was starting at the beginning of a population increase. The world population started increasing after the Neolithic period when man started and learned to cultivate crops. This period is also called as agriculture revolution when man started producing food supplies, and food supply ensured better life expectancy and lowered the rate of death. There was another period in the history of mankind when the population increased. That was in the middle of the 15th century, which is also called as the Christian era, where there was a rapid increase in population. Around 300 million population was there in this world. Around 20% was shared between India and China. 10% of population was in Egypt and 10% in Mediterranean region, and 40% was scattered all over the rest of the world. There's another period in the history of population geography, which is industrial revolution from 1760 to 1840, when there was a transition from creating goods by hand to using machinery. In this period, the population had been pushed to 1 billion. So in 1850, the population of the world was around 1 billion. This period is also called as medical revolution because at this period the scientists and the doctors, they evolved various kinds of medicines, surgical techniques and tools, which also enhanced the life longevity. So the population increase mostly depends upon the land and its quality. If the land is suitable for agriculture and has abundance of natural resources for industrial development, in those areas there were more population cluster as compared to those lands which had hostile climatic conditions or difficult climatic conditions or less resources present, like the valleys and the hilltops. They were mostly prevented and had scanty population. Currently, the world population is around 8 billion. In India, the population is the highest, which is around 142.8 crores, whereas in China, it is 142.5 crores. So, India's population accounts for around 17% of the total world population. The population density of India is 481% per kilometer square. If you see the world population, around 50.8% is male population, whereas only 49.6% is female population. So how do we get all this information about the population of any country, and especially when I am talking in context to India? We get and obtain maximum information from the census. So a census is prepared after every 10 years. It's basically a procedure by which the government systematically obtains information, acquires it, records that information, and does all kinds of calculations and organizations, and thus give you a proper data. So the first census was conducted in 1881 under the viceroyship of Lord Mayo. It was the first complete census that was conducted in India regarding the population. So this particular census was before independence, but after 1949, the census of India was conducted by the Registrar General and Census Commission of India under the Home Ministry Government of India. So this was the first census, complete census of the population of India, that was in 1951, which was by the independent government of India. So since 1951, whatever census that is conducted, it is conducted under the Census of India Act of 1948, and which does not bind the union government to present the census in a particular time period. There is no time period or time boundation within which the union government has to collect the census and present it. So the last census which was published was in 2011. It was again to be published in 2021, but because of the COVID-19 pandemic of India, it got postponed. Now it will be again reconducted and presented in the year 2024. So, census is not a very new concept. It was regularly held during the Mauryan period. The Mauryan Empire used to conduct timely and yearly census which indicated all the people in the kingdom, which were according to the occupation they were divided, whether they are merchants or traders or potters, carpenters, agriculturalists or smiths, or maybe cattle rearers. So whomsoever belonged to whichever category of occupation. This is how they collected census, that was collected by the village officials. So this was a regular record keeping of the population at that time. Even in the ancient Veds, that is like Rig Veda, which is the oldest Veda, it reveals that between 800 and 700 BC, our ancestors used to maintain a record of the entire population. Even there's a mention of keeping a record in Arthashastra, which is written by Kautilya, and it states that there was a collection of population data during the 3rd century BC. Even the Mughal Empire used to keep a lot of record of the population because of administrative purposes and taxation purposes. So in the reigning time of Akbar, when Ain-e-Akbari was written, there is a lot of account of the data which is collected from the various economic and social industrial areas of human society at that time. So basically in 1881, the first census was made on the 7th of February 1881. It was emphasizing on the demographic conditions of the people at that time, the number of people, the women and the men. So that data was collected and recorded by British India. At that time, India was not independent, except the state of Kashmir as well as the French and Portuguese colony. The rest of India was included in the census. The second census was given in the year 1891, followed by 1901. Then in 1921, a decline in the total population was recorded. This was because of the flu, which was very prevalent amongst the population of India. Then after the independence, when the census was made in 1971, an elevation or an increase in population was recorded. A lot of information was kept on the fertility rate at that time. The fifth census was presented in 1991, which ensured a change in literacy rate. There was an increase in literacy rate. Then the 14th census was published in the year 2001, where there was a leap of technology. A huge amount of technological advancement was advocated in this census. In the year 2011, the 15th census was prepared. In this, there was a significant fall of the empowered action group states. That means the state got lesser empowerment in the census. And as India, a whole census was presented for the entire nation.